Cesco takes control, driving forward, total chaos in the box. Oh yes, absolute surgeon with that delivery. Heads up play. What a stop. Lammens denies him reflexes of a cat from the Belgian Titan. These are the Warriors United brought in to wash away the shame of last year's 15th place disaster. We are past the midway point now. And let's be real, every single one of them has completely flipped the script. But remember, when they first landed, the skepticism was loud. Was this just another hyped-up Bundesliga export destined to crash and burn in the Premier League? Could two guys from mid-table clubs actually handle the heat under the brightest lights? And did passing on a veteran keeper doom them before a ball was even kicked? Dead wrong. Here is exactly how Cesco, Cunha, Mbeumo, and Lammens dragged United out of the mud and into the fight. Cesco actually cooled off a bit in his last Leipzig run, 13 goals versus 14 despite more game time, but the 22-year-old was signed as raw dynamite waiting to explode. Truth be told, the Slovenian hasn't exploded onto the scene like the others. Some critics were already whispering about another wasted big money gamble, but call it a failure, no chance. The kid is adapting to a brutal new league, and his numbers are solid considering he was a late summer panic buy. He missed the vital preseason work, didn't start until September, and immediately silenced doubters by scoring in his first two full matches against Brentford and Sunderland. Then disaster struck against Spurs, a knee knock that put him on the shelf for a solid month across November and December. Between the physio room and AFCON departures, it was a nightmare month for Ruben Amorim and the eventual caretaker boss, Darren Fletcher. But amidst the gloom, one light flickered back on. Cesco returned to the fold. He bagged 3 goals in just 2 games for Fletcher, a massive jump from the mere 2 he scraped together in 17 matches under Amorim. Those 3 strikes weren't luck. They were a masterclass in versatility. We saw the smart run in behind, the predatory timing in the box, and a gritty set-piece finish, pure striker instinct to keep the tally moving. Don't get it twisted though, this wasn't just magic because Fletcher ditched Amorim's 3-4-2-1 formation. It is all about Cesco finding his swagger and sharpening those off-ball movements since shaking off that injury. Even while settling in, he lacked that ruthless edge early on, honestly. It felt like he was bringing a butter knife to a gunfight when leading the line. Now he is pulling the trigger from dangerous zones with enough volume to terrify defenders' consistency Rasmus Højlund couldn't find in his sophomore year. Look at the Burnley game, 39 touches, 13 right in the opponent's face, unleashing a barrage of 8 total shots. Before that, 4 attempts against Leeds, 8 hammering Wolves, 4 versus Newcastle, and another 5 peppering Brighton in the cup. That is the kind of heavy artillery volume United fans have been screaming for when facing teams that park the bus. His return on investment is looking healthy. Throw in the FA Cup tally, and based on actual minutes played, he is dangerously close to a goal every other game. Honestly, the stats should be even scarier. He has rattled the woodwork 3 separate times already. Scorers often get tunnel vision praise, but Cesco's pace, aerial dominance, and sheer physical bulk make him a nightmare target man that the squad can actually play off of. His knack for stretching the defense is absolutely critical when United needs to lock down a lead. Proof, the Newcastle match. The second he was subbed for Xerxes in the 60th, the outlet vanished. United got pinned against the ropes. And honestly, Newcastle should have flipped the script and stolen all 3 points. Even though he was Amorim's golden boy, Carrick dropped him to the bench for his first 3 games in charge, favoring Mbeumo up top. And no, we aren't talking about his shiny dome. Regardless of the rotation, he is still a cornerstone of the attack. Maybe the struggle narrative exists because he lacked a signature moment, well, until he buried that hair-raising last-minute winner against Fulham at the Stretford end. Quick pause if you are vibing with the analysis. Smash that subscribe button. It seriously helps the channel grow and lets us keep dropping these breakdowns for you. If this offensive overhaul proved anything, it is that the club finally admitted last season's dumpster fire was due to shooting blanks. The potential was blindingly obvious. Cunha came off a monster season, 17 goals, 6 assists for Wolves, stat padding at a relegation candidate. Mind you, Mbeumo smashed in 20 Premier League goals for Brentford last year, hitting a number no United player has touched since the Robin van Persie days 12 years ago. Yet, the clouds of doubt still hovered over these massive price tags. Let's face it, United's recruitment post-Fergie has been a chaotic mess. $2 billion burned on transfer fees since 2013 says it all. Yet by signing Cunha and Mbeumo, it felt like the club was finally realizing that heavy investment requires players who are already Premier League proven. When you bring in guys like Cunha and Mbeumo who arrive with zero baggage and no worries about the past, they are just genuinely happy to be there. They just want to play football. And honestly, their energy is a complete and utter breath of fresh air. On one hand, Mbeumo found his scoring touch early, arguably becoming the success story of United's summer window with 10 goals in all competitions. In Amorim's 3-4-2-1 system, he owned that right-sided number 10 role, supported superbly by makeshift right wing-back Amad Diallo behind him. Together, they forged a lethal chemistry down the right flank, turning it into United's primary avenue for attacking play. You only needed to see United's form during AFCON from late December to early January to recognize just how vital Mbeumo is to the team. For Cunha. Meanwhile, the weight of that expensive price tag and the pressure to replicate his prolific Wolves form has been a noticeable burden. After all, it was the 26-year-old's impressive 15 league goals for Wolves that single-handedly kept them from being relegated last season. So, finding himself waiting until late October to score his first goal after a 9-game drought must have taken a massive toll on his confidence. Of course, look beyond the stats and you see positive signs from the Brazilian throughout the entire season. This was particularly evident on the opening match day against Arsenal and even more notably during United's famous 2-1 win over Liverpool. While he didn't score or assist, his influence was crucial to that first Anfield victory in a decade. Fast forward to now, and with 5 goals and an assist in his last 10 matches, the 26-year-old is finally showcasing the reliability the team needs as the number 10s in Amorim's 3-4-2-1 they injected new life into. United's transition attacks by securing possession in the final third, avoiding the heavy touches and slack passes that used to kill the attacking rhythm. Their duel-based approach to protecting possession in the final third gave the team time to push forward and place themselves in better positions to draw fouls and win free kicks, rather than getting bullied off the ball as was often the case with Højlund last season. We have different players who are simply better suited to this specific style of play. But honestly, it makes a huge difference. At the same time, their defensive discipline was key, tucking in to form a 5-4-1 that shielded the midfield double pivot, a midfield that has been far too open to penetration for the past few seasons. However, like several others, there was a sense that their roles in Amorim's system were putting handcuffs on their attacking flair. Pairing Mbeumo with another similar wide threat in Amad limited tactical variability, as they both occupied similar zones. This congestion often left the Cameroonian marked out of games entirely, and while Cunha enjoyed more familiarity with the system, having played as a left-sided 10 in an identical formation under Vitor Pereira at Wolves. The lack of ball progression from United's left meant he often had to start his runs from his own half. This frequently led to tunnel vision, driving to the 18-yard box and shooting rather than finding a pass. But with United reverting to a 4-2-3-1 under Carrick, Cunha and Mbeumo have truly been unleashed. Now, less is demanded of them tactically, allowing them the individual freedom to rely on their natural instincts. That is a footballing quality you simply cannot coach. Arguably, the biggest difference maker among the summer signings has been Senne Lammens, because if he hadn't replaced Andre Onana in goal last summer, United's results likely wouldn't have improved at all. Their defense would still be struggling, and they'd be closer to a one-way ticket to the championship than the Premier League's top 4. After 2 seasons of Onana fumbling in goal, it was clear that a reevaluation of the goalkeeper position was absolutely necessary. Seriously, the guy honestly couldn't even save a PDF file. Originally, United planned to sign a new keeper only after selling either Onana or Altay Bayındır last summer. But that plan changed quickly following Onana's blunders in the humiliating Carabao Cup exit to 4th-tier Grimsby Town. Plus, Bayındır's failure to impress. Last summer, Ruben Amorim had set his sights on veteran goalkeeper Emi Martinez, urging the United board to secure the Argentine from Aston Villa. However, the hierarchy blocked the move, opting instead for young Senne Lammens on a deadline day deal from Royal Antwerp for about £18 million. Meanwhile, Onana, now dropped behind both Bayındır and Lammens, sought a loan to Turkish Super League side Trabzonspor. It was a calculated gamble by United to go into the season with a backup who had warmed the bench longer than a radiator, along with a young keeper who had only one full season of top-tier Belgian football. Yet in retrospect, the club's decision was a masterstroke, securing a solution with the perfect blend of reliability and potential that Martinez couldn't provide. Standing between the sticks at Old Trafford brings a crushing weight like nowhere else in football. Yet for the few who conquer that stage, the glory is absolutely legendary. Amorim played the long game with his 23-year-old signing, holding him back initially since he wasn't bought to be an instant starter. The gaffer knew adaptation was key, new culture, different drills, and dealing with the suffocating scrutiny the media piles on United number ones. It was a strategic buffer period, ensuring the lad was mentally bulletproof before facing the firing line. That patience paid off beautifully. Since his shutout debut against Sunderland in early October, Lammens has been an absolute rock, thrilling the Stretford end. Early in the campaign, the Red Devils were leaking goals left and right thanks to catastrophic errors in the net. That nightmare is over now that they have a keeper who can actually catch, losing only 3 times in his 20 starts. Naturally, being young means Lammens still has a few rough edges to smooth out. His tendency to rush out and narrow the angle late sometimes leaves him scrambling to get set. The logic is sound, but mistiming that movement can catch him off balance, killing the explosive power needed to reach the ball. Yet, set against the absolute howlers we saw from the guys before him, these flaws are barely noticeable. And the best part is they are easily fixable on the training ground. Digging into the numbers reveals a story that isn't quite black and white. Across 20 games, he's allowed 27 goals with only 4 shutouts, and his 62% save rate is a steep drop from the 77% he posted at Antwerp. But context changes everything. Strip away penalties and own goals, and he's let in 23 against an expected goals metric of 24.9, which means he's actually saved United about 2 goals they should have conceded. That stat says more about the chaotic defending in front of him and the high-quality shots he faces than on Lammens' talent, which has repeatedly saved the day, locking down vital points when the team needed a hero. Where this kid really shines is his pure, instinctive shot stopping in one-on-ones. He holds his line deep, buying a split second to read the striker before exploding forward to smother the angle. It is a massive departure from the style of Onana, who often hesitated or positioned poorly, leaving gaping holes that strikers happily exploited with early strikes. Watching his footwork is like seeing a ghost of De Gea from his prime before 2019. The thing that truly separates him from his peers is his ability to stay big and square to the shooter, holding his ground until the final moment and forcing forwards to panic. He's not just a line hugger either. He dominates the air, aggressively claiming crosses before strikers can get a sniff. That command of the box is something Old Trafford hasn't seen in years, and it is absolutely critical now that set pieces are such deadly weapons in English football. With Onana, you could smell the panic, and that anxiety infected the entire back four. Lammens brings a swagger that calms everyone. De Ligt was playing his best football before getting hurt in November. Luke Shaw looks reborn, and young Aiden Heaven is playing with the icy composure of a veteran. Without that trust in their keeper, the defense wouldn't dare push up to track runners into the middle, leaving Casemiro exposed to the same deadly counters that wrecked him last year. It is clear that Lammens triggers a massive positive chain reaction. Bayındır had the feet but not the hands, and Onana struggled with both ends of the job. Lammens is the total package, looking completely at ease whether he is pinging short passes or launching counterattacks. With his elite skill set and the belief he instills, it looks like United have finally solved their biggest headache between the posts. If you loved this deep dive, smash that like button and subscribe for more. Hit the bell so you're always in the loop. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.